Enshrouded. Is it worth a buy? Let's read the words of the developer. You are flame-born, last ember of hope of a dying race. Awaken, survive the terror of a corrupting fog, and reclaim the lost beauty of your kingdom. Venture into a vast world, vanquish punishing bosses, build grand halls, and forge your path in this co-op survival action role-playing game for up to 16 players. This is exclusive to the PC while it's in early access, guys, which is what it is now, but it will, thankfully, be coming out on consoles when it's on full release, so everybody's going to get to enjoy this really fun game, and it is a really fun game. It's the first game really that's not challenged Valheim, although I suppose it is, but it's just kind of took massive inspiration from Valheim, and I've been waiting for these games. When Valheim launched, one of the things that was always in the back of my head was people are going to copy this because it's so successful and so great. I mean, Valheim, by the way, don't take a shot every time I say Valheim or you'll be f***ed. Valheim was a, once in a decade kind of game. Absolutely brilliant. One of the best games I've ever played. And it's nice that we're now getting games pretty much copying stuff from Valheim and then adding their own twist, innovation. They're innovating on what was Valheim. And that's exactly what Enshrouded is. It's a very early access game with a lot of bugs in it. And it's clunky. But it looks fantastic. It looks really good, and it's got a handcrafted world, whereas Valheim had a procedurally generated world. This is handcrafted. Now that has its pros and its cons. The pros is the world is going to be really well done. The cons is replay value is going to be a bit of a problem. Although the amount of hours that you're going to put into this game is going to be so vast that it doesn't really matter. This is a kind of, I mean, I don't know how long I've even been playing it now. Way longer than I wanted to. 15 hours, and I'm level 5, I think. I haven't even done anything really in the game in 15 hours. That's the kind of game it is. It just eats away your time. And that's a good thing because it just sucks you in from the world that we live in and just gets you immersed in the actual game world that you're living in. You don't feel like you're rushed to do anything unless you're in the Shroud. More on that in a second. You can just come into this game with a few people and just build whatever the hell you want. The building is fantastic in this. You can build literally anything you want. There's loads of different types of blocks, and the way that you do the building is excellent. It's better than Valheim. Definitely better than V Rising as well. Two games that this has took big inspiration from. You get to put down a flame, and what that does, that gives you your territory of how far out you can build. You can upgrade that as you go through the game and expand your territory more and more, so you can have places for farming and things like that, and you can build a big castle, and it just goes on and on and on. You can terraform the world as well, so you can dig down, flatten it out, and all of that kind of stuff. The game itself brings you through a little kind of tutorial area, and the early missions is pretty much to find a group of people who are lost in the, I forget what you even call the bloody world, lost in the world basically, and they are like a blacksmith, a hunter, an alchemist. Essentially what these are, they're your crafting benches. In Valheim and pretty much every other game, you will have a bench, like an alchemy bench to craft all your potions and stuff, a blacksmithing bench. In here you have people. I think that's an awful idea myself, because you have to put people in your base, and you come in and you open the door and you hear people going, hey, you know, it's like, what? Who are you? Get out my fucking house, mate. Oh, you're the blacksmith, you've got to stay there. You just stand there like fucking mannequins. It's an awful idea. It's shite, it's wank, it's crap. Fuck off. A bench would have been just brilliant. Valheim had it nailed. Why didn't you just copy benches? The hell? The story itself, you get a little bit of a cutscene at the beginning, but it doesn't really tell you much. The story's out there, you've got to find it. There's little books and little parchments knocking about that you can read if you can be asked. You don't even need to know the story. Who cares? In a game like this, who cares? You make your own stories up. That's the beauty of these kind of games. You build yourself a big castle, then you go out into the world and you find shit. And there's a lot of stuff out there. There's little villages, there's ruins, there's underground caves, there's all kinds of stuff. There's high vantage points that you can unlock for fast traveling. Fast traveling is pretty much essential in this game, which is unfortunate. And there's also a shroud. Now, the shroud is the big thing in this game. It's like a fog of mist. And when you enter that shroud, your timer starts at the top of your screen. You can see the timer ticking down from 5 minutes. Basically, you die when that timer gets to 0 if you're still in the shroud. You got to get out of there. So if you're crossing a shroud, you might have a load of battles to get across. It's kind of... I didn't like it at first, but now I love it. I think it's a good touch. The shroud, you can find stuff inside like egg timers and that give you an extra few minutes. There's potions that don't work, unfortunately. We tried one today, it just did nothing. It's supposed to give you an extra 2 minutes, it didn't do anything. So there's things that you can use to help yourself get through the shroud. There's also some parts you can maybe get up a hill and just pop your head out of the shroud and reset the timer and go back in. So it adds a little bit of danger, if you like, to the game. You can also grapple. You get a grappling hook very early on, and you can fly. Well, glide. You glide. You drop like a brick, so you can't glide that far. I don't know whether that's going to improve as you get better gear later on, but at the minute you've got to find the highest place you can get and just leap off and hope that you will make it to the other side. Sometimes you do, sometimes you land in lava or land in the shroud and don't quite make it to where you want to get to, which again adds a little bit of excitement. When you unlock these big fast travel towers, you generally have to go through a bit of an Indiana Jones thing, bit of platforming, a few puzzles to get through, spike traps, electricity traps. I love it. I think it's great. I mean, in games like Ubisoft games, you just climb a bloody tower and that's it. And here you feel that you're going through this kind of little trial, if you like. I mean, they're not hard. Saying that, I've killed myself a few times, but a lot of that's been down to clunky controls. Like I said earlier, sometimes you hit a key press and nothing happens. It's been doing that a few times lately. I don't know whether it's my keyboard or the game, but I have read that a lot of other people are having clunkiness issues with this game, so there is that. The combat is a little Souls-like, but we haven't really fought a boss yet. This is just a review in progress. I need to put way more hours in. You probably need about 50 hours in this to review it. But we have fought some pretty decent enemies, 4 or 5 levels above us. And it is quite brutal. If they hit you, you can go down in a couple of shots if you're not careful. You can buff yourself with food. You don't need to eat and drink to keep yourself alive. There's none of that. The food is purely for buffs in this game. And you can cook better food, mix food together to get even stronger buffs like intellect, stamina, and things like that, which is essential, to be honest with you. But coming back to the combat, it is quite easy with the general mobs out there that telegraph what they're going to do. You do take the odd hit, but generally speaking, you can just roll around like a prick and get out of the way of the incoming damage, although some of the incoming damage is really freaking brutal. Way more brutal than Valheim, I would say, but manageable. It's still very manageable, especially when you have a magic wand and you just roll around casting the little wand. I tried to go mage style. There isn't classes per se in this. You don't sort of select a class at the beginning, but as you level up you get skill points to put in, and there's quite a vast tech tree, if you like, for want of a better word, where you can put in your skills and put them towards sort of warrior, tankish, mage-ish. You can see here all the different ways you can go. There's a double jump which I'm working towards. I didn't realise it was there and I went in the opposite direction. You can reset your talents, but I'm just going to keep going the way I am with it. But I'm really enjoying the game. It's not Valheim. It's not as good as Valheim at all. They've kind of screwed up a bit. They've priced this at $24.99. Valheim's like £15. I mean, you're going up against a game like Valheim and you've put your price like way higher. And I think that's why there's nowhere near as many people playing it as there was when Valheim first came out. So that could be problematic later on. I hope not, because I do think this is definitely worth buying. I think most people are going to love this kind of game if you just like to just chill out and play. The big thing that Valheim has over this is, I was streaming this last night and someone said this is soulless. I don't agree. I think this has a good soul in it, this game. It's very immersive, it's very good fun. The flying's good, the gliding, the grappling hook's good, the combat's pretty decent, the exploration's top notch, it's really good. But where this fails for me massively, and this is the big shame for me, is the sense of adventure that you get. In Valheim, you would cast off from your home in a big longboat and you would go off for ages. You didn't know where you were going until you came across land, build a forward base, then go and pillage the land and get all the resources. cart them all back to your forward base, smelt them down, then load them up on your ship, and then you'd have to get all the way back home fighting sea monsters and all sorts of stuff. And when you came back home, and that might take you 2 or 3 IRL days, maybe it's even longer, and you come back home with that longboat full of loot, and get your little cart, bring it to the boat, and ship it all back into your base. And it was such a satisfying. You felt like you'd been on a massive adventure. In this, you just go out, you do all of the exploration, and then you fast travel back with all your loot. And it's just like, okay, that was... But, I mean, you know, a lot of people aren't going to care about that, especially the younger people who just want everything now. But for me, I like the full-on immersion. I want to mine that shit, cart it back, put it on the boat, get it home, and that's why I just love Valheim. But this is definitely worth... There's room in the world for Valheim and Enshrouded. You don't have to take sides, you know what I mean? They're both fantastically good games. I'm loving them both. I'll be playing a lot more of Enshrouded, and I'll be reviewing it at a later date. Not when it comes out. I'll be doing it probably in an interim review before it comes out. I think it'll be a while before this is finished. Although it is very, very polished. To be honest, there's a lot of content. It's not polished, rather. There's just a lot of stuff in here to do at the minute. So, you know, all you early access haters, you're going to miss out on a crackingly good game. So there you go, guys. There's a lot more to this, but I will be doing a updated review later on. This is just a review in progress. Definitely, definitely worth a buy.